and welcome to an evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Last week, we brought you a summary of the major news of 2024 through the lens of the interviews we conducted around them. One of the issues which trended towards the end of the year was the controversy raised by the comments of UK Conservative Party leader Femi Oke, who has consistently referenced Nigeria in some of her conversations in light that has been less than desirable. The dust which greeted her comments became even more unsettled when Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima responded to them at an event saying Nigeria was proud of her, but that her denigrating the country wouldn't stop it from being the greatest black nation on earth. Of course, Ms. Oke swiftly responded, saying she wasn't in the business of doing PR for Nigeria, and went on to grant another interview to prove her point. While the back and forth was on, it raised an entire conversation about Nigerians in diaspora, particularly those who have become citizens of other lands by birth, and their view of their relationship with Nigeria. In recent times, Nigeria has paid a little more attention to Nigerians in diaspora, creating an entire commission for them in acknowledgement of their contributions to the country and the soft power they wield on behalf of the motherland, wherever they are. On the part of Nigerians, it's usually a thing of pride to hear and see Nigerians flying the flag high despite the citizenship they decide to go with. We know our own when we hear their names. On Hard Copy tonight, I speak with one Nigerian who carries dual citizenship by birth, but has worn her love for the country literally on her hair and sleeve. Femi Oke is an international journalist and broadcaster whose Nigerianness has been unmistakable. Femi, it's a delight to have you on Hard Copy.
It is a pleasure to be here, although, wow, I wish I was in your seat interviewing you and not you interviewing me.
That's not going to happen tonight.
It's okay.
You on the hot seat. That's where you're going to be for the next 30 minutes or so. I can tell you that even for me as a Nigerian, your surname looks very easy, and yes. But it's not easy to pronounce.
All right, so I have a controversy around my surname because my surname is pronounced, my name is pronounced Femi Oke. But you very rarely hear me say that. The time that you will hear me say Femi Oke is when I'm home in Nigeria, because my fellow Nigerians would give me a hard time.
Of course they
and
will.
Bring me over to, you know how to say your name. It's Femi Oke, right? But I have a deep South London accent, so I have changed the pronunciation of my name to Femi Oke. Everybody can say Femi Oke. That is my name. Elsewhere, other than when I'm home in Nigeria, and then of course I am Femi Oke.
Well, I hope Nigerians understand, but that can be quite a bit of a challenge, you know, because even when I go out too, sometimes when they say, what's your name? I'm very tempted to just say my first name, which is my baptismal name, and say Esther. But hey, some people have said if they've learned to pronounce other more difficult names,
of course,
why not Maupe, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know how that has been for you, also given the fact that you're in the media, but clearly you have won your love for us. I mean, look at you. This is how you have been authentically yourself in the international media space.
Sure.
How has that been?
Well, I don't think you can be a low-key Nigerian. So when my parents went to the UK in the 1960s to study, everything around me felt like Lagos. My dad would drink Guinness, people would come to the house, and I thought they were arguing, but they were just debating politics. My mother would be wearing wrappers. She carried me on her back. She carried my sister on her back. There was everything Nigerian about us. And so just by being the daughter of a Nigerian family, you're going to be Nigerian. How you feel about that later as you grow up, I think that distinguishes you as what kind of diaspora Nigerian are you? Are you one that loves Nigeria, that wants to come home, that has connections still, or one that thinks, well, that's part of my ancestry, that's not part of me now? And I'm very much the former. In fact, I have in my bag, backstage, I have my Nigerian passport in there in case I need to do some banking, and I always have a Nigerian passport when I come home because I don't want to go in the foreigners line. I want to go in the nationals line, even if it's only that one time in the year when I'm back in Nigeria.
How's that? I mean, sometimes, you know, some people say I come back because I mean, I want to be on the foreigners line because sometimes it's shorter.
I have too much pride to be in the foreigners line. So I come in as a foreigner, as a Nigerian, and then I leave as a foreigner because it's faster to get out.
But hey, I understand that. I'm just a little curious though. Did you come home for Dirty December?
It was a coincidence, and what a fabulous coincidence it happened to be. Because my workload, once we get to Christmas until about mid-January, nobody is calling me, nobody is asking me to come and do events, to do stories. Everything goes very quiet. So it's the one time of the year that I actually have time to enjoy myself, to spend time with family and friends. And I really wanted to be in Nigeria because of a project that I'm working on. And so December was the perfect time. And then I get to Lagos and I'm party central. And there are weddings and parties and shows. So it's a coincidence, but it's a fantastic coincidence.
So how's it been? I mean, for you, I imagine that I'm imagining that you frequent Nigeria quite a bit. How would you say the landscape has changed? You know, given the last time you were here and what you saw, and also the news that comes out of the country.
Sure. Well, I'm not in Nigeria all of the time. I'm not here every week. The last time I was in Nigeria was 2023. And then the time before that was a very early social media week, Lagos, which was in 2014. And then the time before that was 2009, 2008. So you can see sometimes there are big gaps.
Yes, so you will be able to notice changes.
Yes.
If there are changes.
I feel like Nigeria's got really good at branding and PR and marketing. I'm not saying that inside the package it's all there, but the way in which Nigeria is emboldened to say, come to Nigeria, we're Nigerian. There are campaigns, the soft power campaigns, Destination 2030, come see Nigeria, our music is amazing, our fashion is amazing. We've always known that, but right now I can walk around a store in New York and hear Davido. I can hear Yemi Alade. I can hear so many Nigerian musicians in a normal store in New York. That's extraordinary.
It is. But when you come back home, given the news that also comes out of Nigeria, are you disappointed, or do you think we could be in a better place?
I am always very careful about what I say about Nigeria's development and where Nigeria is, because if you live overseas and you have constant Wi-Fi, water's not an issue, getting to work is not an issue, the roads are perfect, who are you to be criticizing a country and a nation that is sometimes struggling? And I'm always really careful. I think it's for Nigerians who live here at home to say we want our politicians to do better, we want our construction workers to do better. I feel that is their job. That is not my job to do that, because I do not live in the country, so it's easy for me to complain.
Yeah, but sometimes I imagine that when you come back, does that disturb you from wanting to come back home? I mean, the thought that when you come back, you will still have to battle with electricity. I'm sure you come across that water.
Yeah.
For Wi-Fi is not just going to be available like that.
Sure. I ironed this skirt, for instance, late at night, because I wasn't sure if there would be power in the morning. So I adapt very quickly. I was like, let me quickly iron my skirt, because if the power goes off at 8, Abuja's got this rolling blackouts at the moment. If the power goes out at 8, I'm going to be stuck. I cannot go into hard copy with an unironed skirt. So I adapt very quickly, but I also have been coming to Nigeria since I was a little kid. And so I'm in my grandma's compound. I remember standing on a concrete floor, and I had a bucket of water and then a smaller bucket to have my bucket shower in. So I remember, these are very deep memories of not necessarily turning on the shower and having the shower all falling over me. I remember just standing in a bucket, and then my mum was like putting water on me and soaping me down and then using more water. So that was my reality as a kid. And so I remember that as when I come back. And sometimes there's a little bit of that Nigeria where you're having your bucket shower that remains today, for reasons that every Nigerian who's watching this knows why.
Interesting.
I wasn't expecting to tell you about my bucket shower when I was 4.
No, I really have to salute your parents, because
Yeah.
it means that they were very intentional about bringing you home, about, showing you where you're from, etc. The fact that you have family here, which whom you're still very happy to come home to see,
Sure.
I feel you feel very related with. That
Yeah.
was intentionality on the part, and I know that. You're no spring chicken. Never mind how fantastic and
You just insulted me with a smile on your face. You called me old to my face.
I didn't say the words. I didn't say the words on TV.
I
but
am not sure my parents were intentional. I think when you are an immigrant, you just do the best you can. And one thing I wish they had done better is that as a kid, and other nationalities do this better, they didn't teach me Yoruba. And to this day, it is painful for me only to have some understanding of Yoruba, not everything. And I've done classes, and then I travel, and then I can't keep up with my classes. As old as I am, I cannot speak my parents' mother tongue as fluently as I would like. It's still a project. I don't know when I'm going to do that project. My parents could have done that from when I was a baby.
Oh, trust me, many parents could have done that for their kids.
They gave me so many good qualities and skills, but that one about your mother tongue is my culture. I've lost some of my culture because my parents didn't teach me my language.
And you think that you lost that because you were abroad? Is that
Yes. Although I do know, I had a cousin's youngster who says, I don't speak Yoruba that well either.
So I
She lives in Lagos.
I hope that's some comfort to you.
No, it's no comfort. Parents teach your kids.
Okay. Parents, have you heard? I hope you have.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't know how the controversy which happened late last year then must have struck you, with Ms. Badenoch,
Yes.
talking about her Nigerian upbringing and the corruption and the country that she ran away from, and how our vice president also responded saying, look, you can you remove the Kemi from your name if you like, but it's not going to stop us from being the greatest black nation. We're proud of you.
So much wahala.
So as a Nigerian, especially a Nigerian in the media,
Yes.
watching that back and forth, what questions did it raise, or what issues did it raise for you?
I think you cannot impose your the way that you relate to your nation and your countrymen and countrywomen to other people. Other people have other experiences, other opinions. Nigerians are so proud to see another Nigerian name that we instantly will adopt people anywhere. And I do it. I see someone's name, like, they're Nigerian. I do it all of the time. There are so many sportsmen and women and athletes in the United States where I live, and they are third generation, maybe even fourth generation Nigerians. But I see their name and I know then that they've got deep US accents, but I know that they're Nigerian and I have a sense of pride. So I think it's very natural. We're very naturally proud of our own, even if they're in the diaspora several times removed. But I think it's for the people in the diaspora to create their own identity, because their parents moved overseas. So of course they're going to have a different relationship with Nigeria than their parents will have. So I will never impose this is how your relationship should be. I feel that debate should have been behind closed doors. I don't think it is an elegant or gracious debate to be having out in the open. It makes it fun for us who are journalists. We're eating our popcorn, watching this debate go back and forth. But Kemi has every right to say, this is how I see myself. But as she does that, she is a classic Niger woman. She is bold. She is feisty. No one can tell her what to do. She walks into a room, it's her. She always is ready to debate. So even though she may not embrace her background, she's Nigerian all over. I see a Niger woman when I see her. And I love it. My politics are not her politics. But I see the strength and power of Nigeria in her. That is enough. I don't have to claim her. I see that, even if she doesn't see it herself or acknowledge it.
I'm going to tell you something. First time I heard your name, I think you were with CNN then, Of course, as you said, we claimed you. We knew you were Nigerian. We knew you were one of us. But I think when I started to really follow your work was when you worked with Al Jazeera.
Sure.
And one of the things that has always stood you out has been how you've presented yourself. I mean, we could tell that you were happy. And I'm sure this is not just Nigerians. I'm sure this is Africans in general, you know, seeing a part of African fabric in your dressing, in your personal style, so to speak. Why was it important to you to make such a statement?
So I will make a statement about the statement. I do not generally speak about clothes, hair, makeup in interviews, because I feel that that is obvious. You can see that, you see me, people see me regularly on stage, maybe I'm doing an event for the UN, you see me and I represent. That is enough. I feel sometimes that when we are women, we're scrutinized with more detail than men. And there have been examples of breakfast shows, for instance, where a man will wear the same suit every day for a year. Nobody notices. If you wore that same suit every interview for hard copy, people are like, well, do you not have any other clothes? What is wrong with you? So we are scrutinized with so much detail. I remember my mum didn't necessarily watch CNN. She's very God-fearing, so she will listen to Christian radio, watch Christian TV. She doesn't really watch CNN or any of the work that I do. But at church, people would tell her about my jackets and my earrings or my clothes. They wouldn't tell her about the work. And I think it's really important to say, okay, this look, if you like it, it's fine. If you don't like it, it's fine too. It's how I represent myself. But I don't want to have a long conversation about it. So I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate that people like it. But I feel that this is about as much conversation as I want to have about that, because it's obvious what I'm saying and what I care about. Yeah. And then we move on.
Well, I think the reason why I have asked that is because I know that it would have been easier to blend in with the crowd.
I'm not a blender.
It would have been easier to
blend in.
But you chose to stand out. So the question will be, why? And, you know, if there were any reactions to that. And this is for those who find it difficult to actually to draw attention to themselves, who are afraid to draw attention to themselves, so to speak.
I go through my life drawing attention to myself, so it's not an issue. I think it's probably something to do with my age when I got to Al Jazeera. I was mature, I was very experienced. I'd had, at that point, over 2 decades as a broadcaster and journalist, and I knew myself, I knew my style, and I was also too old for someone to tell me off for my hair or my clothes. I was over 40 when I got to Al Jazeera. I was in my mid-40s, so no one can tell me off for what I was wearing. Plus, I worked on a show called The Stream, and The Stream was unpredictable. It was very different. It was like nothing else on Al Jazeera. So I could throw away all of my jackets, from my TV jackets, from my years at CNN, and I could dress exactly how I wanted to. And I thought, if I can dress how I want to, this is how I'm going to dress. So it was a combination of maturity, The Stream, and working at a network that understood about representation. Because my co-presenter, people will remember initially my co-presenter was Malika Bilal, who was a hijabi, who wore hijab on TV. And people would always ask her, Malika, what is it like to wear a hijab on TV? And so we had 2 black women. One was representing West Africa as well as the UK. One was a hijabi, so people who were Muslims say, oh, okay, I can be on TV and wear my hijab and wear modest clothing and still look good. So between us, people were like losing their minds. 2 women doing powerful TV jobs. That was Al Jazeera.
Well, Mr. Oke, I can tell you that it was beyond, I mean, it was beyond the effect, the impact. I'm sure it was way beyond even what you could ever have imagined. I'm wondering, so what are the steps for you now, thinking about your work, moving on in the future? what is the direction that you're looking at, and where do you think, I don't know if you've ever thought about media, you know, in Africa, and if you ever consumed any media coming out of Nigeria, out of Africa, what more would you like to see as a Nigerian, or will I say an African diaspora?
Sure. I always look at media when I'm traveling anywhere in the world, and so I'm always interested in Nigerian media, but then when I'm in Kenya, I'm watching Kenyan media. When I'm in South Africa, I'm watching South African media. It's very challenging because media is incredibly expensive. News, in particular, is an incredibly expensive medium. And each year it gets more expensive. It doesn't get less. It's not the same. It gets more and more expensive. It's difficult to do. But I feel, and I know that there are a number of my colleagues and former colleagues around the world who are really passionate about telling our stories in our way. We're always saying, oh, what's CNN doing? Oh, what's Al Jazeera doing? What's the BBC doing? We're always looking, and then also asking them, CNN needs to do more of this. Al Jazeera needs to do this. They're not talking about Nigeria in the correct way. And I would often get that too, even though I did so many stories about Nigeria. It was never enough for people. And my answer to that is, these international networks are not your local TV networks. They're not there to tell your stories. So we have to own our stories and tell our stories in our own way on a regular basis. So our excellence, we set our own level of excellence. We're not continually nagging other networks to do the work for us. We do it for ourselves. And I think the more we do that, the more pride we have in that, the stronger our media will be. So eventually, those international networks will start looking at us saying, oh, we need to do more of this. We need to do it like Channels does it. Mentioned all of the competition. But I want them to look at us and take tips and guidance for us, because who knows how to tell our stories better than ourselves. So that's one thing. That's what I think about media on our continent. And then what am I going to do? I have spent a decade at the BBC, a decade at CNN, a decade at Al Jazeera, and now this next decade, is my decade for my projects, my company, and what I want to do. And on my career bucket list was to do more work at home in Nigeria. So I have to work out, what skills do I have? Where would I apply them? And how, as a diaspora Nigerian, can I bring value? What do I do? So part of my trip was not Delhi December, it was research. I was doing recce's to see what's possible. What do I do in my decade of me, not working for another network, but me? What do I do and how do I do it? And how do I reconnect with a country that my parents left over 60 years ago? And I want to come back. There's a little bit of me that I feel is missing. People call me a Nigerian journalist, but can I be truly Nigerian if I haven't lived here? And for me, the answer is no, and I need to fill that space.
Ms. Femi Oke, we certainly wish you all the very best as you progress and enter this new decade. We hope that it is very rewarding in every way. Thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
I might not be a spring chicken, but I'm ready for the decade. You're so welcome. Thank you.
Oh, well, that's the program tonight, but I'm sure you will certainly have feedback. If you do, please use the handles showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Femi Oke. Good night.